everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people. What? Double talk. This is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, my guest today is Anna O'Neill, and she is from
Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Friends Animal Sanctuary. Funny story how she came to get on the show. There is a long waiting list to get on Chef AJ Live because I really have other jobs and responsibilities to my publisher and things to do. So I really do my best to try to do only one show a day. And so there's a little form you fill out to be on the show. And she did fill it out on September 6th, 2022. I feel terrible. But what happened is she showed up at my conference, even though she's all the way in North Carolina in Sacramento on September 17th to give me this shirt. And guess what? The first cancellation, she was bumped up and she's on the show today. Please welcome her to the show. You know how to do things.
Well, I figure if you wouldn't respond to me via email, I would just fly out across the country and demand that you put me on your show, which is not what happened, but I'm joking as well. But thank you for having me.
Well, I think it's a great system, and we're going to recommend that to everyone.
Love it.
But so we're gonna actually take a tour and look at all the wonderful animals that you have in your sanctuary, and I want to hear all about how it started. But first, I want to hear about you. When you became vegan, why? Because people love to know a good story.
Yeah, I'll try to make it short. So I started thinking about, the animals and factory farming, farm animals. And it was sometime in college. And I really wish I knew that exact moment that I started thinking about that and it bothering me that I was eating meat. But it was sometime in college. And, of course, I flip-flop like a lot of people. I flip-flop between vegan and vegetarian, pescatarian, back to vegan, vegetarian. I did that for several years. But it was about 25, I'm thinking 25, 26 years ago that I stopped eating meat. And there was a couple of periods in there where I was vegetarian, but it's been vegan now for several years, long time. And but it's definitely been at least 25 years since I've put any meat in my mouth, thank God. So yeah.
Nice. What was your impetus?
I was trying to remember exactly. When I went to college, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm from Greenville, a smaller town in North Carolina, but Chapel Hill was a little bit more cosmopolitan. It's not big. It's basically in the Raleigh-Durham area. But, people were talking about ideas and exposing me to things that I'd never really thought about before. I grew up in a very, meat heavy environment. I never really thought about it. It was never a topic of conversation, but just something made me start thinking about it and started thinking about, hey, I'm contributing to this cruelty. And I always loved animals. We had dogs and cats and fish and hamsters and guinea pigs and, all the animals growing up. And I just loved them so much. I used to dress my cat up in doll baby clothes and put her around the neighborhood. And I remember I was learning math, and I had a little chalkboard that my parents gave me, and I would teach my cat math, and I would read books to my dog. And I just always loved animals. And so, when I got to college, I started thinking, why do I love these animals but not these? And so I started visiting animal sanctuaries. I went out to Utah to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. This was back in the 90s, probably mid 90s. And I volunteered and actually lived in Kanab, Utah, working at that sanctuary for a few months. And then I started following Farm Sanctuary. I never made it to Watkins Glen, New York, but I did go to a conference, and I heard Gene Bauer. We had a conference here in Raleigh called the Compassionate Living Festival, where I saw Michael Greger in person. This was years ago. Kim Stallwood, Tom Reagan, Ingrid Newkirk was there. I just saw all of the big guns back there then in the animal rights arena, and that's all it took. I was like, that's it. I'm not contributing to that anymore. And I always wanted to rescue animals. I was like, I fight for these animals and I talk about them, but I don't know them. How often do I get to actually meet a farm pig or a cow or even a chicken? So I decided that at some point in my life, I was going to rescue farm animals. And I finally did it starting 8 years ago.
Nice. Well, that's great. I'm sure other people have the dream to do that, but how does one start? How does one start a sanctuary?
Well, I tell you, I was thinking real big at first. I had moved to Raleigh and I was living almost in the downtown area. And I was like, I've got to get out of here. I just want to be out in the country. And I kept thinking about my dream. And I was volunteering at little sanctuaries around here. And I had this grandiose idea that I had to have 30 acres and lots of money and all these volunteers set up. And so I started looking for property way outside of the Raleigh area, because if I was going to get a large property, that's all I could afford. And, you know, I was looking at 25 acres, 30-acre properties with old farmhouses. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, am I really going to be able to do this? I mean, all by myself, because I'm single. And I would lay awake at night and I'd be like, I really want to do this. But then it's like something would just slap me and say, be realistic. I can't afford this. What if something happens to me and I have all these animals? What if I lose my job? How can I afford it? And I was on a business trip and I was looking at Zillow and I was looking for properties, and my realtor picked out this house where the house I'm in now, and it was outside of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, only 5 miles outside of town, and it was only almost 3 acres. And I was like, that's not big enough. I can't start a sanctuary with 3 acres. There's no way. He's like, why don't we just go look at it? So I came out here and we looked at the covenant, and there was no restrictions on farm animals. And I'm only literally 10 minutes from Chapel Hill, where there's a large university. And we walked around in the woods and we walked the property line, and he's like, you don't think this is big enough to rescue a few farm animals? And I loved the house, and I was like, I don't know. It was in my price range. It was
Farm animals? Yeah.
And I said, you know what? And I came back and visited a few times, and I finally said, all right, let's do this. And it's been perfect. I don't have a huge, large property. So when you say, how does one get started doing this? Well, in my case, I've got what I consider to be a micro sanctuary. There's a micro sanctuary movement. A friend of mine coined the term. I think if you Google micro sanctuary resource community, I think that's it. He's got a website that explains what a micro sanctuary is. It's basically a vegan-run sanctuary, somebody who does not exploit animals of any kind, doesn't eat animals, any animal products, and rescues even 1 or 2 farm animals, whether it's a cow, a chicken, pigs, and a goats, sheep, whatever it happens to be. And as long as it's a rescued farm animal and you're a vegan-run organization, you can consider yourself to be a micro sanctuary. And I have 19 pigs and 3 roosters and 1 dog and 1 guinea pig, and they're all rescues. And so I am definitely part of that micro sanctuary movement. So long story short, to answer your question, you don't need a ton of money and you don't need 50 acres to rescue a few farm animals and to get to know them and really make a difference in your community. I have a blog post about this, I'm sorry, on my website that says, I think the title is, If I Can Do This, So Can You.
Nice. Well, what is the number of animals that separates micro sanctuary from macro sanctuary?
You know, I don't really know. I don't know if there is a specific number, but you know, like there's Piedmont Farm Animal Refuge down the road, about 8 miles from.
I think I've been there. What's the name of the lady that runs it? Because
Lenore.
I think I've been to that one.
In North Carolina.
I remember visiting. I remember I spoke at a veg fest in North Carolina. I went to this fabulous restaurant. I wish I could think of the name. Maybe you can help me think of it. I visited Dr. Howard Jacobson, and I seem to remember visiting some sanctuary there. And that does sound like.
I bet you did. If you spoke at Veg Fest, you probably worked with Helene.
Yeah.
And Helene, the Veg Fest actually proceeds, they benefit Piedmont Farm Animal Refuge. So you were probably there. That's Lenore and her husband, Paul. They are literally 8 miles away from me. So I was trying to say, so are they a micro sanctuary? They have a lot more land. They have a lot more animals than I do. So I probably wouldn't think of them as a micro sanctuary, but as far as the exact number of the cutoff number, I don't know. Don't know if there is one.
Well, how much does it cost to run a sanctuary, and where do you get the funding? Because you said you have like a real job, like you have to work a real job.
Oh yes, I've got to pay my bills. How much does it cost? Well, you know, I just started using QuickBooks and all of that because I'm like, I've got to start being able to spout out numbers and run reports and really figuring out how much I'm spending here. But on a day-to-day basis, you know, if you have large vet bills, you know, that's going to add a lot. But like the past couple of years, I haven't had any vet emergencies. I mean, other than just normal, you know, hoof trims and things like that. But just on a day-to-day basis, buying food, buying straw, you know, just infrastructure, fencing, gates, you know, barn fixes, ramps, things like that you have to deal with. It's totally doable for me. I mean, I contribute a lot of my own money to my micro sanctuary, which is a nonprofit, and that helps me on taxes because I contribute to my own charitable organization. So, you know, I can write that off on taxes, you know, as a charitable contribution. But I do get some donations, in monetary donations. I do Facebook fundraisers. On my website, there's a donation form there. And I also have a sponsorship program. So anyone can go to my website and navigate to the sponsorship page where they can select any of the 19 pigs and sign up for monthly, quarterly, or yearly donations. And I've got more folks signing up for that. And that's very helpful because that's money that comes in on a regular basis that I can count on. I get a lot of food donations, which is great. That helps me tremendously. Yeah, because the food donations, you know, I can spend a lot of money on food. Well, I want to talk about the food because you actually, Chef AJ, have made a huge difference in the diet of my pigs, believe it or not.
Really? Are they on a weight loss program?
Let me tell you, yeah, in fact, in the video that I talk about one of the pigs, she's morbidly obese. She got here a couple of years ago. I mean, morbidly obese. But you know, when I started following you, Chef AJ, and I signed up for your ultimate weight loss program, and I've lost 25 pounds in the past 2.5 years, just eating whole food, plant-based, just following your example, reading your books, following your recipes and unprocessed, your Feel Fabulous Over 40 group. I mean, I'm like, I have stalked you for, you know, a good 2.5 years. And so I took what I learned from you, you know, eating left of the red line, you know, calorie density chart and all of the things that I've learned through you. And I've applied that to the nutrition of my pigs. They eat so much fresh produce and fruit, vegetables, whole grains. They eat a very extremely healthy diet. And not only has it maintained the weight and the nutrition and health of my herd as a whole, but my pig that's morbidly obese has lost, you know, she's still way overweight. It's a slow process for her because she doesn't get around and move around very much, but she's lost probably 50 pounds in about 2.5 years since she's been here. She's got a long way to go. She was that overweight, but I've just applied what I've learned from you to my own health, to the pigs. I'm very picky about what they eat. And so thank you. You've been extremely instrumental in the health of my animals just by learning from you. So thank you for that.
That is so cool. Are they free fed? Like, how does it work? Like, are they all, we're going to see a video soon, guys, and they're adorable, but are all 19 of them together? Do you have to separate them? Do they get along? What do they do for fun? Do they go for walks? How old are they?
Well, they all range in, they range in age. They're all together in one area, but I do have I have it separated. So some are together, like I've got 7 pigs in one area, 5 in another. Randy Lou, the morbidly obese one, is with her sister by themselves because, yeah, do they all get along? No. That's why I have to separate some of them. They have very, very strong personalities.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. And it's, as wonderful as they are, they can be mean to each other. And I guess this is kind of common in the animal world. If one of them starts aging or showing signs of slowing down or has a disability, or in Randy Lou's case, being morbidly obese, the pigs can really pick on them and just make their lives miserable. And so, you just gotta separate them out of that part of the herd. So I kind of, hit or miss and trial and error, just kind of see who's getting along with who. Now I have a huge farm pig named Petey. He's my only farm pig. You're going to see him in the video. All the other pigs are potbelly pigs. Petey's a farm pig, so he can't be with just any pig. He has to be with pigs that'll tolerate him. So, yeah, so he's a special case. And I have one pig that's completely separated from everybody because she's disabled, and you'll see her in the video as well. Abigail, she's got severe arthritis in her feet, and she's very elderly. So,
But does she get lonely being all by herself?
well, she's not completely by herself. She lives with the roosters, and she absolutely loves the roosters, and the roosters love her. They sit on her back. They sleep with her at night. They all hang out together, and she's got some squirrels that hang out with her all day too. It's really cute.
That is adorable. And so roosters and pigs, and so you can put different species together and they'll often get along, but sometimes they don't get along if they're the same species.
Right. It's a learning process. If somebody had asked me before I started the sanctuary, do you think it's okay to put roosters in the same, penned in area with a potbelly pig? I'd probably be like, oh, probably not. That pig's probably going to snap at them and hurt them, just trying to get to their food or something. But no, you start just a little bit and one rooster, and I'm like, oh, they're getting along just great. Then okay, well, let's try another rooster. And then before you know it, they're all one big happy family.
That's great. I wonder if we should play the video now so people can take a look at this. This might be a good time. Let me just,
Sure.
Okay, let me open, and you can, after we watch it, you can talk about it. Oh man, I had it open a second ago. Okay, I got to find it again, but don't worry, because while I'm looking for it, maybe you can tell us about a children's book you're writing.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I started writing my book. I actually started just doing kind of children's stories on my blog. I've since taken the stories off my blog because I was like, you know what? I need to work on them a little bit more before I expose them to the world. I watch the pigs. It's almost like exposing my childhood wonder, when I watch the pigs and I see their little personalities, and it's like I become a child again, looking at a Disney movie. I see their little personalities come out, and I think of all these, stories, and they're based on some of their real personalities. Like Petey's a bully, and Abigail gets picked on because she's disabled, and Daisy has spots all over her and she's really embarrassed. And, so yeah, I'm working on the book. It's, I got quite a ways to go. I do it in my quote free time. So,
Did you ever
yeah.
think, I've heard about this because I know that you need donations, and we're not, we don't like push things like this on the show. There's a link in the show notes if you want to donate, and I'll put it in the chat. But I've heard of sanctuaries like where you have cameras on the animals where people can watch them, like not all day, obviously, but for hours. And that sometimes makes people want to donate because they can like adopt a certain animal and then contribute.
That's a great idea. And you're not the first person who's put that bug in my ear. I do have some Ring cameras out there, but those are just for me to spy on them when, I'm not home or something like that. But like when I was in Sacramento at your conference, if you saw me on my phone, I was probably spying on the pigs from one of my Ring cameras.
That's funny. Hey, I just noticed I saw an Instant Pot in the background. We're going to talk about that. But first, let me share my screen, and we're going to play this wonderful video, guys. Be prepared to be adorable. Let's see. How do I? Oh, no, it's over here. There we go. You can see that, right, Anna? The YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, good. Here we go.
Hi, Chef AJ fans. This is Anna O'Neill. I am the founder and primary caretaker of the animals at Jenna and Friends Animal Sanctuary. in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the sanctuary and introduce you to some of the animals. We're very lucky. We get lots of produce donations from the community. We get fresh grains and fruit, potatoes, all kinds of vegetables. We get lots of donations, which is great because we believe in a very, very healthy diet for the pigs. We want them to be very healthy. We want them to live a long, happy, prosperous life. We don't want them to be sick. We don't want them to be overweight. And just like with people, we know we can control that with a healthy diet. This is Abigail. We rescued Abigail from Charlotte, North Carolina about 2.5 years ago. She came from an extremely neglectful situation. She was basically abandoned by the people who had her, and they just left her when they moved. When we found her, she was living in a pile of beer cans, and she had no access to shelter, food, or water. We brought her back here, and she was extremely traumatized. She suffers from severe arthritis in her feet. Her hooves had never been trimmed, and her feet were extremely painful to walk on. But now we've gotten her hooves trimmed. We've treated her arthritis. She eats an extremely healthy diet. She has access to fresh water and companionship and lots of love and fresh straw to sleep in at night. She's doing just wonderful now. Right, Miss Abigail? She's a sweet girl. Hi, Miss Maggie. Maggie is the product of the breeding industry. Lots of people will buy potbelly pigs from breeders without doing their research. They don't know how big they're going to get. They believe the breeder when the breeder tells them they're going to stay really small, little teacup pigs. There is no such thing. If you see a little tiny pig, he or she is a piglet, not a full-grown pig. But anyway, Maggie and several of our pigs have come from folks who have bought them from breeders and realized they just were not set up for pigs. And they ended up coming here to live in an environment where they should live out in the woods to explore and to be part of a herd. They are companion animals. They want to be part of a herd. They have very, very strong personalities. And when you put a pig like Maggie inside of an apartment in a dog crate all day with no access to outdoors or companion animals, they are absolutely miserable. Right, Miss Maggie? This is Miss Daisy. She was one of our very first rescues a few years ago. She was found wandering in Durham County, North Carolina. A few years ago, she went to the animal shelter there and they auctioned her off as livestock. So we went and bid on her and won her and brought her back here. That was about 6 years ago. Over the years, Daisy has lost her sight. She is fully blind, but Maggie is her seeing eye pig. So if Daisy loses her way, she is led back to her water bowl and to her fresh straw bed at night, and she's doing just wonderfully. This is Randy Lou and Penny Lane. Penny Lane is the pig facing us. These guys came from a very, very bad, neglectful situation. They were living in their own urine and feces in the back of someone's shed. They had no access to sunlight. Penny suffered a dog attack. She only has one ear and she limps really bad. Randy Lou, her sister, who's not facing us, is morbidly obese. And the reason for that is because the owner was giving them commercial hog food, which is full of fat. And that food has one purpose, and that is to fatten up farm pigs for slaughter. It's not nutritious food, and it should not be given to potbelly pigs. And this is what happens. Now you can't see Randy's face, but she suffers from fat blindness. That's when, this is common in overweight pigs, very overweight pigs. The fat folds on their face actually cover their eyes, which prevents them from seeing. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. Now, Randy Lou has actually lost about 50 pounds since she's been here. In about 2.5 years, she's lost about 50 pounds, and she's got probably another 50 pounds to go. So we're working on that very slowly. She has an extremely healthy diet right now, and she does have woods to roam around in and get some exercise, but it's a slow process. And this is Petey. Petey is our only farm pig in a herd of potbelly pigs. Most likely Petey fell off a transport truck somewhere in eastern North Carolina. Someone found him running around as a tiny little piglet and scooped him up and brought him here. North Carolina, unfortunately, is the #2 state in as far as hog production is concerned. Literally millions of pigs like Petey are slaughtered every year for barbecue and bacon and other disgusting food products, if that's what you want to call them. But Petey's one of the very few lucky ones. He's here living within a herd of potbelly pigs, and he's doing just great. Right, Petey? He's a good boy. He eats very, very healthy food. Notice his weight. He's at the perfect weight. A lot of times when you see pigs like Petey, you'll see that they're very, very, very overweight, big, huge pigs. They're being fed a terrible diet because they're just being fattened up for slaughter, and they don't get any exercise in those confined areas. But Petey lives a very healthy life. He gets plenty of exercise in the woods, and he eats a great diet full of fresh grains and produce. Right, Petey? He's a good boy. Hey guys, that's Miss Mandy. Mandy was our very, very first rescue. And there's Bobby, her boyfriend. Hey, Bobby. He's a good boy. Hey, Bobby. And there's Miss Roxy. They all have their rescue stories. Hey, Petey. This is Larry. He is our dominant pig. Larry was found wandering loose, taken to animal control, and then brought here to live out his life. He came in and immediately took charge. When pigs are a part of a herd, they establish hierarchy of dominance, and they continue that hierarchy for the rest of their lives. But Larry came in and took charge immediately, and all the other pigs said, okay, he's in charge. He is our leader. Larry is even dominant over Petey, the farm pig, which is amazing since Petey's probably 3 times as big as Larry. There's little Ellie. Ellie's our petite, beautiful pig. She came here extremely malnourished and scared. She was sickly. She had no hair. She was absolutely terrified of anybody who got anywhere near her. But now look at her. She is doing just great. She's an absolutely gorgeous pig, and she has just fit right into the herd, and she loves everybody, and everybody loves her. Right, Petey? We've got some beauties over here. There's Tabitha and Bella, and there's Ricky. And over here, we've got little Greg. Now, Greg is doing his little trick. Whenever I walk in here, he immediately flops over, expecting a belly rub. He's so spoiled. Hey, Greg. You know, you'll notice this little pig house here. I've got several of those around. I also have a big barn for the pigs. It's very important that pigs have shelter from the rain and the elements. This particular house, for example, has a metal roof to keep the rain out, and it's insulated so that they can stay warm in the winter. And I also hang heat lamps in the wintertime, and it's full of fresh straw. Now, right now, there's just a layer of straw, but in the wintertime, I'll put at least 2 times that amount of straw because the pigs burrow in it when they sleep together, and they huddle up in a big pile to keep warm. Right, Miss Bella? Hey, Miss Bella, you're a pretty girl. You like to snuggle in that house, don't you? This is Janice. Janice was living with some dogs, and unfortunately, the dogs started turning on her and attacking her. And if you look closely, you can see how her ears are frayed. They've completely healed now, thank goodness. But when she got here, literally parts of her ears were hanging off. Pigs and dogs sometimes are okay to live together, but when it starts going bad and you start seeing aggression and fighting, it is time to separate that pig out of that dog pen. And that concludes our video, our little tour of the animals at Jenna and Friends Animal Sanctuary. Thank you so much for watching.
This was just let's stop. Okay, this was absolutely precious, guys. What do you think of about this? Let me hear from you in the chat. They are so adorable. Let me get. Yeah, we're back on. Okay, perfect. They are so cute.
They are. They're just so darn cute
Why
to see
did
their
we-
little, their
you
little
know,
faces.
we were raised Orthodox Jewish, so even though we ate some animals, like we did not eat pigs. And so when I look at a pig, not that I look at any animal and think it's food, but especially a pig, it's like, how is that food at all? You know, it's like, they're just adorable. It's so funny how they sometimes don't, well, humans too, I guess all species sometimes don't get along with others in their species, but do you think they know that their life is vastly different than most pigs?
I don't know if they know to compare themselves to pigs who aren't safe and living a good life, but I know that they're living a good life. They, you can see it. You can see how happy they are, and I just watch them, and you know when an animal is happy, or or the opposite of when they feel like they're not safe, or they're hungry, or they're stressed out. You can always tell that. And with them, I walk up, and of course they know me, but I walk up and they're like, "Hey, mom, hi," and well, tails are wagging. They wag their tails.
Okay, so I was wondering if a tail wagging a pig is a happy thing, like a dog.
It absolutely is. Yeah, it is. It's funny. I'll look out there and I just see all these little tails wagging all the time. I'm like,
That
tails are
is
wagging.
so
Everybody's fine.
cool. Well, Lisa says, what a wonderful video, Jennifer, amazing, and thank you for the work in helping pigs. And Carlene says she can tell how much the pigs love you. And Clark says, so adorable. And also, just thank you for your work. I get so uncomfortable that when people say I do so much, because I don't feel I do in this. I mean, yes, I've been vegan for almost 50 years and I think that helps, but I do this show because I love it and I like spreading the message. But to me, the people that do what you do, people that work in animal rescue and even in just, like at shelters, like to me, you're the real heroes. You're in the trenches doing the hard stuff. I mean, it's pretty easy to go on Zoom. So thank you for your work, but how do you have time to do anything? Because if I had 19 pigs, I don't think I would get anything done. I would just be playing with the pigs all day.
Well, I do some of that. I'm fortunate. I work from home for my corporate job. And so, I have a lot of flexibility in that. But, you make time for what's important to you. And, I love to cook, and I'm going to make time to cook, and I enjoy it. And so I'm very good at organizing my time, and, and asking for help when I need it. And
I was wondering, in case anybody lives local, like, do you know Dr. Howard? Oh, he doesn't live in North Carolina anymore. But Kathy Hester, how close does she live to you?
she's in Durham, so she's probably 30 minutes away. And I was talking to her at your conference, and I'm like, "You're so close. You've got to come visit my pigs." And so
she should. I talked to her quite a bit. I'm going to say, you need to not only come, but she has a channel too. She should actually maybe broadcast from your sanctuary if
wow.
you have Wi-Fi, if you can get it. I know that we couldn't go. We were going to do a tour, guys, but that's why she did the video. She just was worried that it wouldn't work. So once you have them like separated because of the ones that get along and don't get along, like, does it ever change? Like, do you ever have like a couple in this pen and then one day, like, just like a married couple, like, okay, I've had enough of you, I gotta go live in a different pen?
That's a good question, and it's actually something I'm dealing with right now. I don't know if you remember Daisy. She's the fully blind pig, not the morbidly obese fat blindness pig, but the other pig that's blind. She's in a closed-in area with 4 other pigs. And I noticed that Roxy is starting to turn on her, like just not letting her get to her food bowl, just being mean. And I'm like, okay. So every time I go out there now, I'm just kind of eyeballing them and seeing what's going on. But if it gets any worse, then, I'm going to have to consider moving Roxy out of that area into another area, so it's when they start I hate to say it, but they can be really mean to each other, especially if one of them has a disability or is getting old and starts becoming, not being there, doing their part in the tribe, So, it does happen. It's happened before too. But it's not that common though. Usually when pigs bond with each other, they're bonded for life. It's
Yeah.
very rare that they will turn on each other after they've bonded, but I've seen it a couple of times.
Are they all spayed and neutered?
Oh, absolutely. Well, let me go back. So all the males are fixed. Nobody's getting pregnant. I am not in the breeding industry. Not all the females are fixed because of, like, for example, Daisy, when she got here, she was already a senior pig, and, she was already traumatized. I'm not going to, I'm not going to go make her go through that surgery when was pretty much at the age where she couldn't get pregnant. And B, I was never going to expose her to a intact male.
I see. And so I'm guessing you have farm veterinarians where you live.
We do. In fact, I use the same vet as Piedmont Farm Animal Refuge, Dr. Shannon Swink. She's wonderful.
Is she vegan? I'm curious. Is she vegan?
I don't know. She's a farm animal vet, and I know she treats animals that are in on farms where they're being bred for food. So I actually have never asked her, but she knows what my mission is here, and I know she knows what Piedmont Farm Animal Refuge's mission is. So I don't know. I wish I would like to say she is, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, if she is, tell her she can come on the show. I mean, she could come on even if she wasn't, but that's so cool when veterinarians are vegan.
I know.
So, you have a companion animal that lives in your house, right? A dog?
I do. Miss Claire.
Does he get along with the pigs? Is he a friend of the pigs and the roosters, or you got to keep him?
No. Claire, she's my pit bull rescue. She's over there on the couch. She's been really lazy. Well, she's always lazy. She's senior. But no, she's dog aggressive, and she's also pig aggressive. I've walked her out there on a leash before, and her hackles raised and the pigs got really agitated. I was like, okay, that's not going to work. But my other dog, Jenna, who I named the sanctuary after, she passed away right when I started the sanctuary. And so she passed away unexpectedly. And so I named the sanctuary after her. But she loved the pigs, and the pigs loved her. Her tail, her whole back end would wag when I took her out there. But Claire she thinks she's the only animal that should be alive on the planet Earth. She just does not want to tolerate any other animal, but she's just as sweet as she can be.
Wow. So who took care of everybody when you came to Sacramento?
Oh, I've got wonderful neighbors. I'm so blessed to have wonderful, wonderful neighbors. And I also hire a service to come out a couple of times. So I've got people in and out of the house and checking on the animals all day.
Do you need any volunteers? Like, do you ever, there's this great organization, and it's free. I used to use it when I worked in retirement homes, because I only could work a certain amount of hours, and I wanted the residents to have activities on the weekend. It's called volunteermatch.org. And, sometimes like even high school kids could get credit. Do you need any volunteers to come help?
I always welcome volunteers, and I have quite a few who come out. There's an organization at UNC, the university. It's Vegans for Peace, and they come out quite often. And that group does. They even come out and do activities like writing sessions and things. There's just sit out there with the animals and get motivated to write stories and things like that. I do have some volunteers from high schools around the area, and they do get credit. I have to go to some website and log in their hours and things like that. And I just have people in the community that contact me and come out and volunteer and visit. I give tours on Saturday mornings. I try to schedule it at 10 a.m. and I usually, 4 or 5 people at a time will come out and visit. And then, of course, I talk about volunteer opportunities, which to me is, scooping poop, which is actually not that hard of a job at all. It's actually quite fun. And just socializing with the pigs, just hanging out with them. To me, that's volunteering. So, I always tell people, you don't have to come out and do hard labor. You can just literally come out and hang out with the animals. To me, that's volunteering.
Yeah, that's neat. So are pigs free fed, or do they have certain feeding times? And then when they are fed, do they eat everything at once? Where did the saying "eat like a pig" come from?
Well, if you ever met Petey, the farm pig, you would completely understand where that phrase came from. He would literally eat himself to death if I let him. They eat twice a day, sometime in the morning and then, 4, 5, 6 o'clock at night. They eat, they have troughs where I put the food in the troughs, and they play musical bowls. It's not like one pig stays in front of one trough. They knock each other out of the way. It's a frenzy. And so then they go from bowl to bowl to bowl to bowl to bowl, and then you come back 3 minutes later and everything's gone.
So, and they eat twice a day?
That, and I give them, depends on how much produce I have. If I have like a whole box of apples and pears and berries and whatever else people donate to me, then I'll give them those things throughout the day as well.
So do they just, like when they're eating an apple, do they just eat the whole thing? Do they leave the core? How does it work? Do you cut it
They
up?
eat the whole thing, and they eat like a watermelon. They eat the seeds, the rind, the whole thing.
So that is, so are they true herbivores or are they omnivores?
That's a good question. I've never given them meat. They would eat it if I gave it to them. Now they're in the wild, they're not predators. They wouldn't kill an animal and eat an animal. They're basically prey. So they wouldn't be eating, I guess there's different varieties of pigs. We've got wild boars, and these are domesticated potbelly pigs. So, like I said, I don't give them, I've never given them meat. But I'm sure they would eat it if I gave it to them.
I just Googled it and it said pigs or omnivores are typically not picky about their food.
Yeah. Oh, they'll eat anything. They really, especially Petey. Just wow. The only things I found that they will not eat are lemons, limes, garlic, shallots, onions, any kind of onion, and mushrooms. Any other produce I've ever given them, they love.
Good. They're smart. They don't like mushrooms. See, I knew pigs were smart. I ate mushrooms too.
I'll eat the mushrooms.
Oh, that's hilarious. But are there things that are their favorite though? Are there things that that you can tell they really, really love?
Watermelon, apples, and pumpkins. This time of year is great because I've been to all of the feed stores around, and because they put the pumpkins out this time of year, and I'm like, okay guys, when it comes to the end of the season and you've got 50 pumpkins left, I'll come get them and give them to the pigs. So they absolutely love pumpkins and sweet potatoes. Oh gosh,
there's a question if they eat the potatoes raw.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, they eat them raw. And Petey the farm pig, okay, so you got me hooked on sweet potatoes, Chef AJ.
He likes them too.
I remember, I bought too many, on occasion, and, it's like, I'll just give these last 2 to the pigs. Petey loses his mind when he sees a sweet potato. And they've got these big, huge jumbo sweet potatoes out right now in the feed stores around here, which is great. And so, there'll be one that's this big and he'll stuff that whole thing in his mouth. But Petey and his sweet potatoes, I can never, ever run out of sweet potatoes.
That's hilarious. So what are their teeth like? They don't bite other pigs or humans, right? But they must have massive teeth and jaws to be able to get through a raw sweet potato or a water.
They have strong jaws. And I have gotten bit before, and that not because they were being aggressive, but because I was doing something stupid, like I had food in my hand when I walked out there. I always tell people, like, don't walk out there with food in your hand, because they're just going to walk up and grab your hand and bite down thinking it's food, and you're going to get really hurt. So I've gotten, I learned my lesson on that the hard way. So they can bite, and I've seen them bite each other if they get into an argument, but yeah, they've got some strong jaws, so you got to be careful.
Other than eating, what do they love to do? And how many hours a day do they sleep?
Oh, they sleep a lot. They sleep they're on camp time. So when that sun goes down, they go to the barn and start going to sleep. And then when the sun rises, they get up about sunrise, a little bit after. Now, if it's really, really cold or if it's raining, they'll sleep all day. They don't like to be in the cold, and they don't like to be in the rain.
Wow.
But they love to sleep. They burrow up and sleep. It's so funny because I put so much straw in the barn. In the wintertime, I have to put a lot of straw in there, and they burrow up under it. And I'll walk in there to check on them, and I'll just see all their little snouts sticking out of the straw. It's the cutest thing.
Do they ever come in the house when it's cold?
No, I don't let them in the house.
I wonder if they would like to. So Jennifer says that your joy shines through when you talk about your pigs, and your pigs seem just as joyful as you. I mean, do they exercise? It seems like they don't move that much.
They don't. They mostly kind of walk from place to place, exploring in the woods. Yeah, they get around in their area, but they're not extremely active animals. They like to stay in one area. They'll find something in the ground, like a tree root, or I don't know, just about anything, and they'll sit there and chew on it and explore it. And then another pig will run up and be like, "What are you looking at?" And then they're looking at that, and then they're just biting on something, and then they start wanting to eat a tree. They like to pull the bark off the trees, which kills them. But they like to move around, but not like you would think, not like a dog would be running around, you know. They're pretty lazy animals, especially mine. They're like, we got it made. We don't have to exercise. We're good. We know where our food's coming from.
How do you like when you adopt a new one, like, is it because somebody tells you they need a home, or do you go out looking for them?
No, I don't have to go out looking for them. They find me. I get emails constantly of people trying to dump their animals. It happens a lot. I do have relationships with the local other animal rescues around the area, and also the animal shelters will contact me, but it's usually just via email. Somebody goes to my website and fills in the contact form and says, "Hey, we're moving. We can't take our pig," or "Hey, I got this pig from a breeder, and now he's grown to be 150 pounds, and I live in an apartment," and or, you know, it's very frustrating, but there is no shortage of animals, of pigs that need homes.
And you're just you're gonna stick with pigs, right? Were the roosters rescues? And Jill's saying how many pigs you have. You said 19, right?
Right, 19. I'm supposed to rescue 2 more this month, so that'll be up to 21. I always
Wow.
said 20 was my absolute max, so that'll put me one above, but
Well, you might not be a micro sanctuary anymore. How many
but-
roosters do you have, and did you rescue them? And what do they eat? And roosters are just males. You only have males, right?
right, because no one wants roosters. Because they don't, produce eggs, they don't produce anything, so people don't want roosters. And a lot of the towns have ordinances where they won't allow roosters, you can have a couple of backyard hens, but you can't have roosters because, well, they're loud. They're rescues. They've come from various places. What do they eat? They eat scratch from the feed store. They have little pellets that they eat. And I also give them a really healthy diet of fruits. They love fruit. So if I'm out there and I've got a box of raspberries or blueberries or grapes or something like that for the pigs, I'll give some of those to the roosters as well, and they'll eat that. They absolutely love them.
Do the roosters get along with the other roosters?
The 3 that I have right now, one of them does not get along with any other rooster, so he stays separated. He's got his own heated house with straw. He can't be around any of the other roosters, although they can get to each other through the fence. They can visit each other through the fence, but he's got to stay separated. He's just really aggressive. I mean, extremely aggressive. And he actually killed one of my other roosters one time a few years ago, and I was like, that's it.
Oh my
And so he stays separate. But the 2 that I have that they basically they run around free range during the day, and at night I have to put them up, of course, to keep them safe. But they're so funny. I walk out the back door and they come running. They're like, "Hey." They're really
so cute. Have you ever talked to an animal communicator or a pet psychic? I talked to one yesterday. Bailey had a session for her birthday. I'm curious if they would be able to help to why some of them are so aggressive.
I haven't. I've never even thought about that. No one's ever asked me that question before. That's I'd be totally up for that though.
That would be so fun. So Stephanie says you must have a good sized property.
It's almost 3 acres. And not all of that is available to the pigs. I have probably maybe 2/3 of it fenced in for the animals.
Right. How long does a pig live if it's healthy?
Little kind of like dogs. 15, 16 would be an
Wow.
old pig. My oldest 2 pigs now are, I don't know their exact ages because they're all rescues, but like Daisy, I'm guessing she's probably 13-ish, the blind one, and Abigail, the one with the arthritis in her feet, she's probably about the same age, 12 or 13. So, they're slowing down, but they're doing great. And it's the diet. It's just the fact that they're stress free and they have fresh water, and their diet. I mean, it's just made all the difference in the world. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just like with people. It's their pharmacy, is food.
That's so cool. You said that nobody wants roosters because they don't do anything, meaning like they don't lay eggs, but don't roosters, I mean, there must have been a purpose for roosters in
Protection mostly. Most people who have they have hens because they want the eggs. They may have a rooster or 2 running around, and it's usually just for protection because, they're very protective over their flock. But most people that I know who have hens, like my neighbors have hens, and they don't have roosters. They don't want a rooster. They think they're aggressive. They're loud. So, a lot of people will go to places like Tractor Supply. Not sure if you have Tractor Supplies out there. But they'll go there, they'll be like, oh, we've got chicks, come get your chicks. And people will go get, a few chicks, and one of them ends up being a rooster. And then they don't want the rooster because either they think he's going to be aggressive, or they're like, we don't need a rooster. We want eggs. So then they contact someone like me and says, can you take my rooster? Or they dump them in the woods somewhere, which is really sad.
Yeah, but don't they need the male rooster to fertilize the female egg? I mean, they must have a place in this whole cycle, right?
Right. Well, you don't, I mean, the hen will lay eggs without it being fertile.
Really?
So,
Oh my
well, it's
gosh.
just like humans, we ovulate eggs.
Wow.
So
I don't know anything. It's funny. I went to the University of Pennsylvania to be a veterinarian. That never happened. I obviously know anything about this. So Lisa says, do you have to worry about any predators?
That's a great question. I saw a coyote in my yard last night, to be honest with you. But everybody's up safe at night. The pigs are, safe in their barn, and in their little pig houses, and the roosters are safely up away, from predators. But yeah, I've only had one incident, and that was, I believe I never saw the animal. It was either a raccoon or a possum that got to a couple of my roosters, but I heard it. My neighbor alerted me, and I ran out there, and whatever it was ran off. So I got very lucky. But at that point, I was like, okay, I need to secure my fencing a little bit better. So where the roosters were at night, I just made sure I plugged all that stuff up so that possums and roosters, raccoons couldn't get in there. But the coyotes, it's a good question. I have heard about pigs getting attacked by, coyotes before, but I think a coyote would have a hard time getting to my pigs because they'd have to jump a high fence, and then they would have to, put up with Petey. So I really don't think, I don't think that's an issue. And there's no digging under the fence here. There's so many roots and trees and things. I mean, the coyote would literally have to do a high-rise jump. So, and the pigs let me know if there's danger, if there was something, bless you, if they squeal really loud, they squeal really loud at feeding time, but if they feel like they're in danger in any way, they squeal really loud. And then if one squeals, they all squeal. So I would hear them and I would run out there.
Okay. When you wake up in the morning, do you have to do roll call, make sure everybody's there?
I do a visual. Yeah. I mean, especially, and because everybody's going to come running for food. And if you don't see one of the pigs, then something's wrong. But yeah, that never happens. They're all there lined up for food.
How cold and how hot does it get in North Carolina? And do they have a preference for weather?
They like this time of year, fall and especially spring, because it's just, it's moderate temperatures, like in the 70s during the day, maybe 50s at night. The wintertime, we have fairly mild winters here. We do get some cold snaps where it gets like in the teens at night. That doesn't happen very often, but I've got heat lamps in the barn, lots of fresh straw, and they've got their body heat to keep each other warm. I worry about them more in the summertime. It's brutally hot here in the summer. I mean, it's disgustingly hot in the summer.
Can you get fans or misters?
I've got misters out there, and I go out there and spray them down too with the hose. So some of them don't like to be sprayed down, but I do it anyway. And then they've got I've got kiddie pools, so they'll get in the kiddie pool and roll around. And they've got mud puddles. I make mud with I'll just take the hose and make a big mud puddle, and they actually dig it out with their snouts. They're very smart. They know that they need a mud puddle in the summertime, and they actually dig it out. And then I just stand out there and spray it. So it turns into mud, and they roll in it, but they don't roll in mud in the wintertime. A lot of people think they wallow in the mud, all year long. I'm like, no, that's just to keep cool. They don't do that. In fact, they're very clean. You'd be surprised at just how clean they are.
Yeah. So belly rubs are their favorite, huh?
Oh yeah, they love them. Even Petey, the farm pig. It's funny. You start rubbing his belly, and he's so large. He'll just kind of go into this little trance, and then he just flops over, and you just got to make sure he doesn't fall on your feet, because then you're going to have 400 pounds on your feet.
So is that about what they weigh? Like about 400?
Yeah, the vet, they've got their ways of estimating their weight by, measuring girth and width and whatever they do. And she estimates somewhere between 350 and 400 pounds. But if he ever steps on your foot, you'll believe that.
Wow, that's something. Do you celebrate their birthdays?
Well, I don't know when their birthdays are, since they're all rescues, but we celebrate every day. I think it's just one big party here. So, but that's a good idea. I guess I could make up some birth dates for them, and I don't know. That's a good question, but we celebrate every day.
That's so cool. Do you have a YouTube channel or Facebook or Instagram page where people can follow you? And if maybe they don't want to give a financial donation, but maybe just support you in that way?
Oh, I'd love for people to follow. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Jenna and Friends Animal Sanctuary.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure you gave me that for the show notes. I don't think you gave me links. So if you wouldn't mind after the show, just send me the links. I can make them clickable, and then we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also have a YouTube channel that I'm not as active on. I've just recently started uploading more videos there. But that's also at Jenna and Friends Animal Sanctuary. And then of course my website, if you just Google Jenna and Friends Animal Sanctuary, I've got links to all of my social media there as well. And I've got all of the rescue stories of the animals. They each have their own page. So I've got photos of each animal with the entire rescue story, and and a way to sponsor them and all of that. And I've got a blog, and I try to keep that fairly active. I like to educate people. Part of what I do, part of my mission is educating people. And, not that I know everything, but I've learned a thing or two, doing this over the past 8 years. And, I always want to encourage people that, hey, it's if I can do this, you absolutely can too. Getting to know these animals and becoming such a big part of their lives. And I mean, they know me. I have a relationship with them. I'm not just like, oh, I don't eat meat. I actually know these animals. We have a relationship. It's changed my life. It really has. So I always encourage people if there's a way, and you want to rescue a couple of farm animals, if I can do this, anybody can. So I have that article on my blog and some other, rescue stories and things like that. So please check out my website, and I do have a newsletter too. So.
Right. But when you say anybody can, they have, like, for instance, like right now where I live, I couldn't technically, right? I mean, you have to live in a place where legally, right? Because that make the most sense to try to have 19 pigs in your.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
guess I should rephrase that to say if you really want to do it, it's,
Yeah,
you got to find the right spot, of course.
exactly,
But
exactly.
it's not as hard as a lot of people think.
Do you think you'll always just focus mostly on pigs, or just maybe let some cows in now and then?
Well, right now I'm just going to focus on pigs because, I've been flying by the seat of my pants a lot and with pigs, but I've learned so much, and I feel like I'm just finally at the point where I feel like I'm really starting to know, I know what I'm doing, in most cases. But now I don't have a really, really large property. It's like I said, it's only about 3 acres. So I'm really not set up for cows. Um, but I like the fact that, hey, I think it's good to specialize in a particular species if that's what works for you.
Yeah, no, that's great. And one of the live viewers, Stephanie, saying you can tell how passionate you are, and that is just so awesome. Well, thank you so much for what you do. And Susanna says Anna is great at educating others. She's learned a lot. And I'm so glad you came to my conference, and look at this Hey, do you sell these shirts? I bet people would love this. I wish
I
Linda
do.
Middlesworth, my friend, was watching, because I think she loves pigs more than anything. And it's a real cozy, comfortable shirt, actually.
Yeah, I love it. And I have different colors. You can purchase them on my website. But
So what we need to do is, after the show, you got to give me the clickable links for the shirt, for the social media. This is a small and fits great. It's nice and cozy, nice and soft, and I love it.
and I can wear a small now, thanks to you.
Well, now we know how to get on the show. Just apparently give me a gift. I'm kidding. I'm so really, if you were somebody that applied like Anna over a year ago, it's not because I don't want you on it's just, ever since I went to regular programming, it's just been much harder. But that is like literally my goal is I have probably 50 people waiting, like, just even if I have to work doubles and triples to get everybody that applied on the show, even if they're not vegan, because I'm trying so hard. But the minute I get it's like that game of whack-a-mole. The minute I book a few people waiting, then I got like 5 or 6 more applicants. Who knew that people would want to come on my little tiny YouTube
You're
show?
popular. You've changed lives. I mean, you're
Because I
talking
love
about
it.
me. You're talking
I
about
love
changing lives. You've changed, gosh, hundreds of thousands of lives. I mean, look at your following. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Jesse, you said you love the shirt. I'll get you one if you want. Tell me what size. Jesse's one of our wonderful moderators, along with Susanna. So yeah, I can't have mine though, because I love it. Well, I see the Instant Pot, and guys, remember on the video, I think you have more California balsamic than anyone. Did you buy any at the conference to take home?
I didn't buy any California balsamic because, I had to fly home and I didn't want to have any liquid in my suitcase. But, I've got so many California balsamics. I am a freak. And what I showed you is only one part of what I have. I have twice as much as that. I've got everything that you've recommended, if you go to their site, you go to your area, your recommendations. I've got all of those. I love California balsamic. Now I did get some local spicery things. I got the bacon.
You can have bacon without pigs, guys. Get local spicery bacon seasoning. It makes
it's wonderful. You know what? I put it on some steamed squash the other day.
Really good.
That's all you need. It's so great. I love local spicery. And California balsamic. Oh my gosh, you've changed my life.
And the thing, I mean, I don't even like to talk about eating animals, but when you think about it, like, if it wasn't for the sugar, fat, and salt, pigs don't even taste good. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, not that other animals taste good, because most people, let's face it, don't eat raw anything. Not really. I mean, I guess you could argue sushi, but are they really eating the fish? Or are they eating all the spices with the wasabi and the vinegar? But I mean, the only reason people like pig products is because of the way they're cured. And bacon is, I mean, sugar, fat, and salt. It's not the pigs taste that good. I mean, I've never had one, so I don't know.
Case in point, if you ever have vegan barbecue, there's a restaurant here that makes it with jackfruit. And, by the time you add the vinegar and the other things that they add to it, you don't know that you're not eating pig because of all the spices in it and the condiments. I mean, so why slaughter an animal to eat that when you can eat the vegan version, and it tastes exactly the
I've been
same.
asking people that for 50 years and they think I'm the crazy one, but I don't understand. But I really appreciate people that have the compassion and don't eat animals, because we certainly don't need them for health, and if you like the taste, there's other things that taste just like it that's going to be better for you. So
Absolutely. And Chef AJ, I'm going to give you a little plug. This has changed my life too. I love all of your recipes. I'm the kind of person that will look at a recipe and I'll modify it in some way. It's very rare that I will, unless it's maybe a sauce or something that's very, very particular about measurements. I will look at something and be like, oh, that's great, but I also have some squash. I'm going to add some squash to it. Or, hey, I think I'm going to put cannellini beans instead of garbanzos in that. So a lot of these recipes are I have followed them to the T, but a lot of them are, you just kind of can use them as get an idea and do something wild and crazy. So you've given me a lot of great ideas.
I appreciate that. And I don't usually plug things on my show, but if you don't have unprocessed, or even if you do, if you just send a screenshot or your receipt to chefajbonus@yahoo.com, we'll send you a lot of amazing recipes and a video, and it's not too late. Even if you bought it, doesn't matter. Like I said, if you can't find the receipt, you can send a picture of you holding the book or a screenshot and we'll still get you those bonuses. So thanks for mentioning it. That's very kind of you. Let's see. All right. Well, this has been great. I'm so glad, because I know originally you were like, oh, I'm afraid to come on. Never be afraid. I don't think anybody I have ever been mean to a guest or made them uncomfortable. Well, no, one time I didn't make the guests uncomfortable, but there was an uncomfortable situation in the chat with the offspring of the guest. It was kind of comical, but other than that, 1,700 shows and maybe one little, not too bad of a track record.
Well, you've made it. You're wonderful, and like I said, I've been to so many of your videos, and I see all the guests that you have, and you're very comfortable, and you're not in it for you. You want to provide information to your community, and you're very passionate about that and spreading the good news. And it's people were saying, oh, I can see how Anna's very passionate about her animals. I can say that about you, Chef AJ. It's you're doing great things, and
that's what I say at the beginning of the show, doing great things that I think you should know about. If I knew about your pigs losing weight, what I would have suggested is you took a picture of the pig reading the book and then a before and after, because that would have been the funniest success story.
Oh, that's so funny. That's great. If I get some video skills or some kind of creative juices, I'll try to work on that, but that's great.
Yeah. Somebody said something the other day, and I don't know if it's true, that not that everybody doesn't like pigs, but for the people that don't, or maybe why we eat certain animals, because pigs aren't like fuzzy and furry, and I mean, I think they're adorable, but they're not maybe adorable in the same way like a kitten is, where it's soft. Do you think there's any merit to that? Because they're kind of bristly, right, when you pet them?
They are. Yeah, I get that. A lot of people think of dogs and they're cuddled up on the couch with them, and they're real soft, and they, sleep with them at night, which of course I do with my dog. It's just a different kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Once you fall in love with them and you really have a relationship with a pig, I'll get in there, and I know this probably sounds crazy, but I'll get in there and snuggle with them. I don't care if they're bristly. I'll get in the straw with them and give them belly rubs and lay down with them. And, I go in there and tell them about my day. I'm like, hey guys, you guys want to kind of get around me for a second? I want to tell you what happened to me at work today. And they're all like, oh, what happened, mommy? And they'll just kind of sit around, and I give belly rubs. And, so yeah, I don't really see any difference. I mean, they're definitely very different animals, and they're definitely not as soft as a dog, but you can certainly be cuddly and, get up all personal with them just the same.
That is so great. I love, I think was it Petey? That little white one is just that he looks so friendly.
Oh, I think it was Maggie.
Yeah, but there was one that you said is a farm pig, I think, that was.
Oh, that's Petey. That's a big, yeah, that's a big.
But he didn't look so big, but is he friendly? He seems very friendly to me.
He's very friendly. He really is. He's, The video didn't show just how big he was. I don't know why I kept looking at it going, I'm saying he's 400 pounds, but he doesn't look 400 pounds in the video, but trust me, he is. He's very sweet. When he got here, he was just a tiny little piglet. So he's never known anything but love and kindness. He's never known anybody being mean to him or, what the hell that he escaped from. He was so small, I'm sure he doesn't remember it. So he's never been exposed to anything but good, healthy love and companionship. So, I guess that has a lot to do with the fact that he's just a really sweet animal.
That's neat. I have colleagues and friends that are animal communicators, psychic. It would be so fun if they went through and just did readings on all the pigs.
Oh, I would love that. Let's talk.
Oh gosh, I wish I had one that I don't know one out that area. Maybe they'll travel because that could be really fun finding out,
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on and for your work. And Dixie saying thank you for saving the animals. And that's just such a great thing. Well, Linda Middlesworth is texting me. I'm trying to get her to watch. Yeah. That's something. Well, anyway, I'm trying to find a place to have our conference. I actually talked to the gentleman that rents it today, and they said no more. Not to my group, just they're not doing it anymore. So if I'm going to have another conference, got to find another location.
Got it. Well, there's always North Carolina.
Well, no, I'm trying to stay.
I know.
I mean, I did that for 10 years, and I need to.
I understand.
You need to, not that I won't ever go anywhere again, but it's like I'm home, and
I understand.
That's where I want to be, just like you want to be with your little piggies.
That's right.
Say to them, this little piggy went to, you ever tell them little pig stories, like read them the three little pigs, or this little piggy went to market?
I've had children read them stories before. No, I haven't read. That's a good idea. I have never read them stories, but they would love that. But I have had a child out here reading stories to them, and they love it. They just kind of walk up and be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Yeah. It's almost like they're listening because their little ears kind of twitch as you talk. So I think they understand the stories.
Well, I can't wait for your children's book to come out, and I can't wait for you to consider the idea that a few of us have given you by you don't have to have cameras on everybody all the time, but if you could somehow get up a system where, because I think if people watched, they would donate. I mean, I would be enthralled by watching them just, a few hours.
I will look into that. That is an excellent idea.
A pig cam. Call it a pig cam.
Pig cam, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I think that's a great idea. I will totally look into that.
Yeah, I've heard about it, so that's great. Well, thanks, Anna. It was so fun talking to you and seeing you, and thank you for the shirt, and thank you for the work you do.
And thank you, Chef AJ, for having me. This has been a pleasure and a dream come true. A bucket list item has been checked off.
I'm glad I could do that. And please get me all those clickable links for the shirt, the YouTube, so that we can add them to the show notes. So people.
I'll do it right now. We'll do it right now.
Thank you, Anna O'Neill. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef
everybody.
AJ. Yep. Please come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time for Vegan Doc Talk with Dr. Scott Harrington. He's going to be talking about from cravings to control, navigating food addiction. I wonder if your overweight pig maybe has a little bit of food addiction.
She used to have that access to that highly palatable, very refined food. She no longer does. So, hey, if it's in, what is it?
If it's in her pen, it's in her mouth. Maybe you can write a book called Pleasure Trap for pigs.
That's right. Exactly. That's great.
That's great. And also, I don't know how to thank them, but you mentioned that when you showed all the produce that people I'm guessing stores or companies are donating, and I don't know who they are, but if you're watching, thank you for doing that for the pigs.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. It's very good for them.
If you want to give me their names, we can give them a shout out even in the thing saying thank you, this market and this market, because that's so nice of them to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, take care and have a beautiful piggy day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take care.